Cool. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Good.
That's good. So, what is it? So, hello, sir.
Hello.
Hello, child.
Hello.
So, what is your full name?
Timothy Kooler, Brian Solo.
And where were you born?
Brantford
Brantford
Hospital.
General Hospital.
Yeah.
So, Brantford General Hospital.
Brantford General Hospital.
And how old are you?
11.
11.
Yes.
What grade are you in?
Going into grade 6.
Going into grade 6. So, how have you liked this year?
It was pretty fun.
What did you like most about your past school year?
Pretty much everything.
Pretty much everything?
Yeah.
Like what?
Like,
What's the most best part about it?
we got to go on trips.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
What kind of trips?
Like to Niagara Falls and to Chicopee Tubing.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That was pretty awesome, huh?
Yeah, it was pretty fun.
Yeah. So what's your dad's name?
Timothy John Wiltshire.
And how old is your dad?
31.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What about your mom?
Almost 30.
What's her name?
I can't remember her full name.
You can't remember her full name. Try.
Kelly Marie Joanne Beaver.
Kelly Lori Joanne
Yeah.
Beaver.
Something.
Kelly Lori Joanne. And how's that?
What do you mean?
How's that? How's your parents? What's it like have your parents or your parents?
They're fun.
Oh yeah?
Mhm.
Like what? What's fun about them?
Like, did they get to take us to do cool stuff?
Oh yeah?
Yeah. Like to go into the races.
Oh yeah. The races. What kind of races?
The races in Michigan.
Yeah. So Kooler, what is it like being an Indigenous First Nation child?
It's pretty fun. Well, it's different.
Oh.
So you get like it's different rather than other people.
Oh.
I don't really know how to explain it. It's like when you're older, you get stuff.
Like what? Like what?
Like the money when some kids get when they're 18. Like I'm gonna get that.
When you're 18?
Yeah.
So how much you gonna get?
I don't really know.
How much are you thinking?
I don't really matter anyway. It don't really matter anyway.
Why?
Because I don't expect the money to be there.
Why not?
Because I'm probably gonna have a job by then. I don't know what it is. I'm probably gonna have a job though.
What kind of job?
I hope ironworking.
Want to be an iron worker, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty cool because you're an ironworker. Well, used to be anyway.
So who's this?
The person behind the camera is my dad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool. Is there anything else that's significant about it being an Indigenous child in the year 2018?
I don't really know much.
Much about what?
About being what I am.
So what does that mean?
Like how I'm being an Indigenous person.
Well, how do you not know much? I mean, what makes that fact?
Because I don't read that much books like you.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm being an Indigenous child, right? See, because Kooler, me, I'm 31 now. So I've had the years to study into my culture and experiences within school and within the schooling programs and education. I've learned certain attributes that make me an Indigenous person, make me want to understand where I am, my ancestry and my heritage, right? So being Timothy Kooler Brian Salt, right? At age 11, what is it like to be an Indigenous child? What in your life has told you that you're an Indigenous child?
You.
Okay.
And nobody else.
Really? What about your schooling programs?
Sometimes, yeah.
So what about schooling?
They do talk about it in social studies.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
So what do they say?
They talk about they're talking about how the English people came over to, they invaded our country. Yeah.
Okay, what else?
And then after that, we were talking about how we are ourselves, like how we're Indians and stuff like that.
So where did the name Indians derive from?
Well, the English people were gonna go all the way around the world to India for some reason, and they found our new piece of land, and they thought we were India, so they called us Indians because they thought we were India.
And where did you hear this story?
My social studies class, and the book I have, it's for social studies. It tells us about that.
Really?
Yes.
And what did your dad tell you?
You said something else.
What did your dad say?
I can't remember. Honestly, I can't.
What did your dad say that the name Indians come from India? That they thought they were from India?
No.
Do you remember specifically what your dad told you?
No.
Christopher Columbus, okay?
Yeah.
When he first arrived to North America, he wrote letters back to Europe, Spanish country.
Yeah.
And in his letters, he mentioned that the people were so kind, so happy, and people of joy, that he named them Indios, which is Latin for people in God.
Yeah.
So, over time, the name changed to Indians. Right?
Yeah.
So, being Indigenous, and everything that comes with Indigenous and Aboriginal and First Nation, do you know about residential schools?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what about them?
That the English people put Native people in residential schools to learn their language because they didn't want them talking Anishinaabe or Mohawk or whatever their language was.
Yeah. Okay, let's just go back to the subject that I was telling you about Christopher Columbus writing letters.
Yeah.
And mentioning what he called the indigenous people, how he called them Indios, which is people in God. That was a reference to the book called The Fool's Progress.
Yeah.
It's a novel, an honest novel. And it's, let me see if I have my phone. By the end of this interview, I'll mention it on the tape. Okay? It's Edward Abbey,
Okay.
A Fool's Progress.
Yes.
Okay, now we can move on. So that's what the residential schools.
Yeah.
That's how the residential schools have impacted North America, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you know that your grandmother was in a residential school?
Which one?
Your granny,
She was?
Mary Elizabeth Davis Salt.
Wait, Granny?
Yep, granny.
That's weird. I didn't know she was in a residential school.
Yeah, she was in a place called the Mushhole.
Yeah.
And you see Isaiah over there. I know, just everybody on the video, if anybody gonna ever see this, anybody, Isaiah is actually over here just behind the camera, and he kind of got Kooler's attention maybe a few minutes ago, and he's probably a little bit distracted. He's 11 years old, so right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're continuing. And do you, as an 11-year-old Indigenous boy, do you feel, or do you have a sense that you've been impacted by the impacts of residential schools?
Yes. Because I think it'd be good for us to keep speaking in language instead of speaking English. Yeah.
What language is that?
Anishinaabe.
Which is?
Anishinaabe.
Is?
The language.
What kind of language?
The language that we're supposed to speak.
That's good, but what kind of language? What kind of people is Anishinaabe?
Natives.
So at your school, what kind of language do they speak?
Anishinaabe in English.
What's Anishinaabe? What kind of language though?
It's a language.
If you were to say Sago, what does that mean?
It means like high in Mohawk, I think.
Now, if you were to say Ani,
It's hello in Anishinaabe.
which is
Hi.
okay, Sago is Mohawk, right?
Mhm.
And Ani is
Anishinaabe. For hi.
and what kind of language? What kind of people is it?
Native people.
What kind of people? What's their tribe?
Anishinaabe.
Ojibwe.
Oh yeah.
Some of the old timers they say Ojibwa
Yeah.
or Ojibwe.
Mr. Shawn says Ojibwe.
Ojibwe. That's the kind of people you are.
Yeah.
Your mom's as Kuga.
She's Mohawk.
She's cute, or Tuscarora. She's part Tuscarora too.
Yeah.
And your dad is Mohawk and Anishinaabe. Your dad is Mohawk and Ojibwe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're telling. So what are you saying specifically about how residential schools has changed your life?
Because like, if residential schools weren't happening, then we would have been still speaking Anishinaabe and the language that we're supposed to speak.
And you know what the residential schools, what they enacted across Canada and the United States?
What's enacted mean?
Means made happen.
They made people speak English.
Why?
Because they didn't want other people speaking their own language.
Why not?
Because they wanted that country to be theirs and their kind of cultural things. Their kind of cultural things. They don't want them to do their own cultural things. They want them to do their kind of traditions and stuff.
And how do you think that affects Native people?
Because we're not being ourselves. We're being somebody else. We're being different people.
Who are we supposed to be?
Ourselves.
And what's that?
Ojibwe.
You think Ojibwe people are happy?
Not right now. Or not at all.
Why not?
Because they're not speaking the language that they could.
So how do you think by speaking their language and being able to speak their language all the time, how do you think that would make them happy?
Because they're following their culture. Or because we're following their culture. And we shouldn't be.
Who's we?
Native people and Ojibways. And people like Mohawks and stuff. People that used to not speak English in particular.
Yeah. So is there any other ways that how you see that residential schools has affected your life?
No.
And shaped your life?
No.
Because you know there was violence in residential schools.
There was?
Did they tell you about that?
No.
No? So where did you hear about residential schools?
In our school.
Yeah. What all did they tell you?
They only told us about how they affected us and what residential schools were.
Anything else?
No.
Okay. Let's take a go back this with your arms back. Put your arms back. Arms back like this. We're gonna have just a little break here, like this. Put your arms up. Go ahead, you can if you want. Just take a deep breath. You can do that. Deep breath. Come on. Come on.
I'm okay.
Oh, okay. Okay, let's move on to another subject now. Okay?
Yeah.
Kooler.
What?
Do you see any benefits to being an Indigenous First Nation in Canada?
What do benefits mean?
Any special privileges in your life and in society?
No, not really.
No?
Mm-mm.
What about your tax card?
Well, your stash card?
Yeah, what about your status card?
Well, yeah, that and your health card.
Yeah, so what does that do?
Health card basically pays for you when you go to the hospital. Your status card pays taxes. And you don't have to, your status card makes it so you don't have to pay taxes.
Oh yeah, where?
When you're going to buy stuff and then you give them your status card, and then you're supposed to say, like, then you're supposed to tell them, I got a status card, so, and then you fill out a sheet, or you put your signature, and then so you don't have to pay the taxes.
So how does that benefit First Nations?
Just so you don't waste as much money as you do when you don't have a status card.
Do you know where the tax? You know what taxes are?
They can go to the government. And it's the government's money. Your taxes are the government's money.
Yeah. And what does government do?
They make decisions. And they make laws that keeps the world in balance.
Okay, what else do they do?
Make decisions.
About?
Like, say, texting and driving is illegal. And multitasking while you're driving is illegal.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Like, well, okay, what is multitasking? while driving.
It's where you're driving and doing one another thing at once. Like texting while you're driving.
And
looking up stuff with Siri.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. Anything else?
Maybe keep pressing pause and stuff on movies if you have one. That's it.
That's some of the stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yes.
Now, with understanding the subject of residential schools and being able to speak about it, how does that make you feel?
Just makes me feel normal. Because as I always feel. Doesn't make me feel anything like, doesn't make me feel sad or anything. Just makes me feel like I'm just talking. That's all.
Is it good? Does it feel good to talk about it?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, it feels good to kind of like get rid of it and like say something about it.
That's really good.
Yeah.
No. So I'm glad I was able to sit here on this beautiful day and have a conversation with you and have this little interview. It's
practice interview.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really good.
Okay.
So is there anything you want to say?
No.
Anything else?
No.
Okay, if you could do anything in life when you grow up or when you have the opportunity, what do you want to do?
Have a DeLorean.
Have a DeLorean. Yeah?
That white one that we saw on one of those videos. Yeah, that one was pretty cool. Or have a mini car that we saw. A dwarf car.
Oh.
I want one.
Oh, yeah, okay. An old car, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Alright. Do you remember what TV show that was?
What show?
Just in case of reference, do you remember what TV show that was?
Back to the Future?
Oh, yeah, the DeLorean. Yeah, of course. But the other cars, the dwarf cars.
It was like dwarf cars.
It's My Classic Car, the TV show was called. Yeah. So it's actually quite interesting, eh?
Yeah, I like
Cooler?
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Bye, camera.
Okay, so you can say, see you.
See you, camera.
See you. Okay. See you, everyone. Okay. Adios.
Adios.
Okay, how do you say see you later in Miigwech?
Kowabman.
Kowabman?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kowabman.